Good morning, everyone. And as we all know, cataract surgery is an age of choices now. The patient and the doctor has the choice, depending on his lifestyle, on his eye, of different IOLs. Not only that, different techniques to perform the surgery. We have moved from phaco to small incisions phaco, and now with the advent of laser phaco, the choices are increasing. And to compound that, the patient has his own set of knowledge now, which he acquires from different sources, which may be correct, which may be partially correct, or which may be totally wrong. And there is our role, when a patient comes to us for cataract surgery, to filter all this knowledge, to gather the data, to sieve the data and give the correct formulation, the correct recipe suited to that patient, which is why preoperative evaluation is now a distinct science. We recognize it's not just performing biometry alone and telling the patient you need this power of IOL. It involves many other aspects, and it involves forming a strategy or a game plan which we adhere to every time to ensure best possible choices that we make for the patient. And I acknowledge the help of my colleague Dr. Lajja Shastri here. So first and foremost, when a patient comes to you, you see a cataract and you want to do cataract surgery. But that's not all. Obviously, we all know that apart from the cataract, the first thing you need to look is that, is the cornea okay? Is the anterior chamber depth okay? Is the pupillary dilatation okay? What is the type of the cataract? And what are other ocular pathologies? In short, you want to be sure that this patient is going to benefit from cataract surgery. And once you are sure of that fact, obviously, you proceed to the next step of pre-operative examination. Typical practice was and has been at many places is that once you schedule a patient for surgery, ask him that undergo these tests right now and we'll tell you what lens to put and you can go home. Pre-operative examination needs to be dealt in a very different manner, in a separate time, in a separate importance. At our practice, and many of others also might be following that, we call the patient for a pre-operative evaluation on a separate day in a separate time slot. Because in a busy OPD with 50 patients waiting outside, we don't want to miss out any examinations, we don't want to miss out any scientific data. And also, the patient is not in a mind frame. He has just come for an examination and you tell him you need this surgery, this lens, that lens. So he needs to be prepared. He needs to get the right relatives who will be making the choice. So it's all a comprehensive package and therefore a dedicated time slot. Call him at a separate slot when you just do pre-operative evaluations. Reserve a special time in your day or a week so that you can do justice to this evaluation. And it goes without saying that it is all a team effort. It's not the doctor alone, but your optometrist who will do measurements, your technician who will also guide you, and the counselors. The counselors or a non-medical person serves a bridge between the doctor and the patient. And whatever you want to convey to the patient, the counselor is an efficient medium to do that. And therefore, form a team that can help you in the pre-operative evaluation. And of course, it goes without saying that when you start evaluating a patient, you have, even if he comes for a one-eye surgery, even if he has a unilateral cataract, examine both the eyes the same. Because what you put in one eye will also determine on what the other eye status is. And eventually, you look after 5 years, 10 years, when both his eyes will be operated. And that is the final state you want to achieve, and you have to start working on it from today. So examine both the eyes. And precision, precision, precision. We all know that this is the age of negligible spherical equivalent. Irrespective of a multifocal IOL, a monofocal IOL, a toric IOL, every patient wants that he should get a freedom from glasses, a good vision, and something that we can dependably tell them. And therefore, precise measurements often requires upgradation of instruments. I'm not saying you get a whole array of some 10 instruments with you, but the basic standard of a simple a scan and a keratometer needs to be slightly upgraded, and depending on the scenario you need different technologies to evaluate the patient. First and foremost, evaluation of astigmatism. The minute the patient walks in for his pre-operative examination, before doing any other test, the first thing that we do at our setup is evaluate his corneal astigmatism. No drops are put, so the cornea is still virgin and you get a fresh measurement of corneal astigmatism. And a well-done manual keratometry today also works very, very well. If you are precise, because it is you who is doing, you know if the patient is fixating well, you know if the eye is moving, so the accuracy of the measurement is good. So take your time to do a good keratometry, don't be in a hurry. Also, if the Mayers are breaking up, you can get an idea of the dry eyes or the tear film status. So a good manual keratometry gives you a lot of information before you proceed on to any further test. Having said that, you do need advanced tests like the topography. in cases where you suspect an irregular astigmatism, or you are planning for advanced IOLs like toric IOLs. Also, there might be the role of imaging techniques like Scheimpflug imaging, which gives you posterior corneal curvature, the pentacam, in certain situations, and that my next speaker will be dealing with. Coming on to one of the most important criteria for axial length measurement, because that is one of the most important determinants for an accurate IOL power. We all know that optical coherence biometry now is the standard of care or the gold standard for measuring axial length, because it gives us very accurate axial length values. Apart from that, it gives us good corneal curvature values, but also it gives us information like the anterior chamber depth, the white to white, the lens thickness in certain instruments. All these data are now becoming important for advanced IOL power calculation formula. So the IOL Master, the lens star, the A-scan, there are several of these instruments available now. In cases of a dense central opacity, or if you don't have an optical coherence biometry, you still need to perform an ultrasound examination, but it has to be an immersional ultrasound. I think contact ultrasound is something that now needs to wither away, and immersion ultrasound is definitely more accurate. It is not that cumbersome. It's quite easy to perform. A technician can be trained to do it. It doesn't involve too much of messiness. So immersion ultrasound is something we need to rely upon more and more these days. And having got these basic data, obviously IOL calculation formula have also evolved now. So the older formula, in fact, we now believe that the SRK2 and the older generation formula are no longer really very accurate, and we should now upgrade to formulas such as the SRKT, the basic minimum, or even advanced formulas like the Hagees, which is available in the IOL Master, the Holaday 2, which is available as a separate formula, the Shamas, which is available with the lens star. So all these IOL power formulae are going to take us closer to our goal of negligible spherical equivalent. Or even if not a negligible, whatever we plan, we should achieve that. So that target is being achieved more and more by these new formulae. And most importantly, remember, every formula is generalized for a population. For your hands, for your surgical technique, you need to personalize the A constant, or what we know as the surgeon's factor. In your hands, where does the IOL sit? And that also depends on the axial length. Myopic eyes may have a different A constant as hyperopic eyes. Similarly, short anterior chambers versus deeper anterior chambers. And the IOL design, is the IOL thicker, thinner? Where does it sit in the bag? All these factors need to be taken into account, and there are very good free softwares available on the net where you feed your pre and postoperative refractive data, and they will give you the personalized A constant that you should be using for that particular formula and your IOL. And of course, in the preoperative evaluation, you must be prepared with what is your surgically induced astigmatism, because whatever in astigmatism you induce is going to alter the pre-existing astigmatism and thus the refractive result. So IOL part done. Other things you need to look for is a specular microscopy. I think it's mandatory we all take a clinical look at the endothelium, but how the cornea will behave is definitely specular microscopy plays an important role. You can pick up early signs of Fuchs dystrophy, and in addition to giving a visual prognosis or prognosis regarding the corneal edema that the patient might expect postoperatively, now we know that extreme cases or severely altered endothelial morphology also gives us aberrations which might be harmful for certain IOLs. And vision potential. There are a lot of potential acuity meters, not very accurate though, but they do give a rough idea of what we are looking at. In a high myopic tessellated fundus, does the patient have a good visual potential? And accordingly, we need to counsel the patient. And of course, advanced diagnosis will be taken up later on, the role of aberrometry, which gives us different aberrations and so much of information that Dr. Samresh will be talking on. Posterior segment OCT. So many cases of multifocal IOLs or patients unhappy after surgery, we used to detect ERMs, which are not preoperatively detectable with the presence of a cataract. OCT can give a simple diagnostic test. So in certain situations, I'm not saying that you use them in all, but there are cases where you need to go for these advanced diagnostics. And last but not the least, understand the patient. What is his health profile? What is his activities? What is his occupation? What is his personality? So fudge the two data, your eye data, scientific data with the patient, and formulate a strategy on paper. Once we have all the measurements in place, what we do at our place is we record all of them in a sheet at a time. So in one look, I know whether the patient has astigmatism, what is the axial length, what is the anterior chamber depth, and what is the IOL I'm planning for him. Once I have this data on paper, obviously I've ruled out contraindicated eyes, I sit and talk to the patient, is a suitable eye along with a suitable patient. And enough chair time is extremely necessary to understand the patient's requirements. Once you do all this, involve the key family members, because always parents are accompanied by their children who are going to take the decision, and let them know that cataract surgery is now moving on to refractive cataract surgery, and there is a possibility of lifestyle enhancement through vision. And give them examples, science that makes sense, how asphericity can improve their nighttime contrast, how correcting astigmatism would lead to an improvement in visual quality, how a multifocal IOL could work at different distances. So visual examples and practical examples. A housewife may have totally different requirements from somebody who's a sports person or an IT professional. So tell them how that lens or how that operation is going to affect their daily lifestyle. So there is a choice to upgrade vision and lifestyle today, and we are the ones who are going to guide the patients to take the choice. So formulate a game plan, execute it, and achieve the target result for your patient. Thank you very much.